Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rana McBerto is your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. We have a great guest. We brought him in a couple weeks ago, and we brought him in today again. I called him up and said, "Hey, Bobby, last week I really need you to do me a favor. I cannot be out there in Portland. Actually, I know it's all coronavirus has me kind of locked down, and there are some specific reasons why I have to protect a little bit more than the average activist will, but I figure that we'll probably learn how to deal with that in the near future. But I said, Bobby, I need you to do me a favor. We've been hearing a whole lot about what's going on in Portland. We've been hearing a whole lot about what's going on all over the country with these riots, not protests. They want to call them riots. Bobby, I need your help. Brother, I need your help. What's going on? And, he's been traveling throughout the country, and during storms and all of that, he's out there doing some relief work on the activist side. And you know what? He went out there to Portland to give out food, and he's doing a whole lot of work in Portland right now. And he was able to do the two big asks that I had. The first ask was, tell me how big these protests really are in Portland. In other words, not what we're watching on TV. I want to know what's really going on in Portland. And the other thing I wanted to know is are we really getting the full story or not? And to which Bobby had a reply, and he said, hell no, that's not what's going on at all. So let's go ahead and get busy and get into the show as soon as I get a few of these other things queued up, which I am doing as we speak, I think I am all queued up now. Anyhow, so here is the deal, folks. The title of the show today is, here is a reality check on real Portland protest story. Gohmert gets COVID. Republican of Texas representative, denier of COVID, denier of masks working, gets COVID. No, I'm not gloating. I'm just saying he got COVID. And even as he got it, well, anyhow, let's talk about it. So, title of the show. Here is a reality check on the real Portland protest story. Gohmert gets COVID and more. Folks, activist Bobby Rodrigo visited protest ground zero in Portland during the day and night. And remember, you got to do this stuff in the day and in the night, because in the day you can really see what really happened the night before. Was there really destruction? Did things really turn bad? Were those explosions that you saw on TV going crazy just because of how the night skies make things look? Then, of course, we cover Gohmert. But we're going to actually start covering, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and get Gohmert out of the way. Let's get Gohmert out of the way. But anyhow, less than one city block in the entire city of Portland is being lied about to define the protest debate. Activist Bobby Rodrigo is back with us from Portland to reveal the truth that no one is talking about. Portland is not burning. In fact, the only destruction occurring in Portland is the defacement of one federal building. Does that warrant the federal response? Hell no. Republican Representative Louis Gohmert has contracted COVID-19. Sadly, he might have infected many more, even as he lies about his mask wearing. So let's go ahead and play that real quick, and then we'll move on thereafter. I wish harm unto no one, but guess what? Louis Gohmert, Republican of Texas, one of the fighters against wearing masks, one of the folks that make believe that this coronavirus is some sort of a hoax or not as bad as it is. Well, you know what? He has just contracted coronavirus. Structa just showed a piece where he's saying, I've been wearing my masks over the last 4 weeks more than ever before, and now I got coronavirus. So even as he has contacted coronavirus, he lies and say, oh, I've been diligently wearing my mask and I still got it. What is he doing? He's purposefully, likely making other folks believe that wearing masks are not important or don't work. And then he goes ahead and he lies. When I was in the judiciary meeting, somehow I wore my mask as I was supposed to. Of course, Chuck Todd showed the video that made it very clear that he wasn't wearing his masks all of the times. In fact, one of the times that he was standing, well, you take a look and you'll see it right here. He could have been infecting others.
One of your colleagues, a Republican, Louis Gohmert, who's not been somebody that has been taking the virus that seriously, doesn't wear a mask often, has admitted that he now has contracted the virus. I want to play some remarks from him and then ask you about safety in Congress on the other side. Take a listen.
I'm asymptomatic. I don't have any of the symptoms that are listed as part of COVID-19, but apparently I have the Wuhan virus. I've worn a mask more the last week or two than I have in the whole last 4 months. And I was wearing my mask at the judiciary hearing.
Well, for what it's worth, we have footage that shows you at times he did not. We're showing it now. Let me ask you this, Congresswoman. How safe do you feel from the virus right now in the Capitol?
Well, listen, I think that one of my, Louis Gohmert is just one of many of my colleagues that currently have the coronavirus. It goes to show how pervasive this disease is and how it can affect any of us. I think that we have gone through the Speaker's office and the physician's office has gone through extra measures to try to make sure that the Capitol is secure. I feel for the most part secure. It's when I get in the elevator and colleagues of mine don't want to wear a mask. I get out of those elevators. I think that what bothers me the most, though, is that I live in Alabama, and it's part of the Sun Belt that is currently seeing a huge surge in coronavirus cases. We, as members of Congress, have access to testing, but the reality is that many of my constituents back home, especially in the rural parts of my district, don't have access to testing.
I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics. Now, folks, think about that. You saw him right there, standing up without wearing his masks. Well, they had permission from the chairman to take their mask off while they're speaking. Well, he was speaking there. But guess what? Guess what? He was speaking, and if you take a look around his desk, around his neck, that little bandana that he had on that did very little was not there. Okay, let me just welcome my people in. Welcome aboard, welcome aboard, welcome aboard. Michael Rutnan, welcome aboard. AVQ, welcome aboard. Dimitri OG, ¿cómo estás, hermano mío? Lost Sound 507, welcome aboard. Lee Grant, my conservative hero, welcome aboard. Kathy C. Courtney, welcome aboard. Para ver quién más está aquí. Deidre Scott, welcome aboard, my dear friend. Norman Reynolds, my brother, come on and welcome aboard as well, sir. Bruce Pollard, welcome aboard, my friend. ¿Quién más? Who else is here? Anyhow, let me go ahead until the others come in. I'm not going to answer your notes right now, but I just want to answer one thing from Rudnan. Rudnan says he's trying to find Egberto, I'm looking for a good link to share regarding the only one block is burning fact. Let me tell you, the fact is going to be coming from Bobby Rodrigo, who was the activist on the ground with the video driving around the block during the day and during the night for you to see. Not a reporter standing on the corner of a street that you see on MSNBC, CBS, ABC, or any one of these other networks in one position telling you the story. So when we put this outtake that I'm going to play from Bobby before we go into Bobby's interview, when I play this outtake, tonight this will be in a blog. That will be the original source of what is really going on in Portland and not what you're seeing on TV, on MSNBC. Here's what else Bobby told me that I didn't realize. He said, Egberto, most of the people out there were bloggers, activists like himself that were doing the taping. He said that he said he saw one AP reporter. This is one, again, of course, there are probably a couple more or whatever, but with official cameras, etc. One, maybe it was an AP reporter, and every other report that he has seen thus far then for this particular part that he's talking about was referenced by the same article. So in other words, you had one quote unquote mainstream media that many of the other medias reference. There's nothing wrong with that if you have an accurate story, but I just wanted to let it be known that as far as the fact base that we talk about giving, what Bobby Rodrigo gave us as far as his driving around and report, it is better than what you're going to see on TV tonight. Welcome aboard, Brige MCP. Welcome aboard, Kathy Palvinen. And if I said that wrong, do forgive me. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to start with what Bobby's first report out of Portland, and then we'll move on from there. So here is Bobby, and I want to thank Bobby, if you're listening, I want to thank you so kindly for acquiescing to what we asked. Here you go.
Southwest Main and Southwest 4th Avenue, that is the corner of the park where the protest happened. And I'm going to go over here to Salmon Street, and I'm going to make a right. Now I'm at the end of the park, and I'm at the end of the protest area. There's the setup where all the tents are, where they're feeding people and they have medical supplies, etc. And there are people walking around. Obviously, there's plenty of stuff going on here. Okay, so right here, this is the fence that I reported on Wednesday that was being put up on Wednesday. This is now the barricade. So the protest happens on this street right here. So from the park to the barricade, that is an area that is done by the protest. There's no multiple blocks. Again, so they have this area over here, and people are dropping off supplies, and they have cones out to make it organized. You see there's nothing going on in the day. You see minimal trash. They are taking care of the trash, etc. You see free clothing. You see all kinds. There's art tents, things like that going on. So now you see, here I am. I just drove around the entire area of the protest blocks. There's no interfering with anything, and as you can see, this is the federal courthouse. See, there's no residents here whatsoever. Now this is the other side of the park. This is another park, and they took the benches out of here. That's what they were doing when I said I wasn't sure what public service was doing. Okay, and then you see I'm on the other side of the protest area, and you can see the tents, you can see people who are staying here, but you now have seen the entire protest site. So anybody who tells you anything different doesn't know what they're talking about. They haven't been here. They're full of shit. They're trying to spin a narrative, whether it's pro-protest or pro-riot or pro-whatever. They're trying to spin an argument. This is the area where the protest is. You don't see any destruction at the moment. You don't see any fireworks being shot. What you also don't see is any of that so-called leadership that those civil rights leaders were talking about when they criticize everything. I'm coughing because I still got tear gas in my lungs. So I just filmed from the other side, and there was no activity. Now, okay, now there's fire thrown over the fence. That's a problem. So they have tossed fire over the fence. It is burning now, and the police have responded with gas. There's another tear gas explosion. You can see the fire. I think you can see the fire. All right, well, you all know me. I have to come down to the front line again and take a look. I guess I am not satisfied about getting gassed twice. I guess I'll get gassed again. Anyway, this is what's happening. After the first two gassings, this is how many people are left. There has been some disbursement, obviously. It's not as thick as it was, but this is the front line. It is about 1 a.m. or coming up on 1 a.m.
So the idea is this. You see the place at night where there's the protest and the confrontation with the people, etc. And then during the day, you can see it's a park where people are doing all their, you know what goes on in parks and areas like that. Anyhow, but what I really wanted to get across there is if you took a look at TV yesterday, you don't see any of that. You just see the war. And I ask all of you who are listening right now, because all of you are from all over the country. You're in Portland, you're in Houston, you're in Timbuktu, Nebraska, you're in all these other places right now. And I would wager that none of you in all these places all over America right now are seeing America burning. You're not seeing riots. You're not seeing even protesting. These protests are occurring in selective area because, again, it's to confront the power of government and the power of those who oppress. And they're not looking to try to go into the neighborhood of Timbuktu, as Donald Trump would say, oh, they're coming to get you in the suburbs. That is not the goal of these protests. These protests are confronting an oppressive government that has institutionalized racism. That's the whole thing. It's not about going to our neighbors or attacking that. It's for taking away the institutional corruption. That is what it's all about. The media, along with the government of Donald Trump, needs you to believe that America is burning, because then that justifies the use of all these military equipment and force against its people. And like Bobby showed you right there, with your own eyes, he showed you it's a block around the park with there's a federal. Well, Bobby's going to explain it in the interview that we're going to do right now, and then we'll move on from that. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and get to Bobby's interview, and then we'll move on to the next part of the program, where I'll take care of answering all your questions. Folks, please stick around. I have another big ask. I need you to share, and share. Whether you are on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Twitch, YouTube, please do share. However you can, that is how we are going to get the real message out. We are going to have these kinds of reports from activists all over that will be able to tell us, hey guys, what you're seeing on TV isn't necessarily the truth, or the context that you're seeing on TV isn't necessarily the truth. Now, here's Bobby, and we had an interview this morning. After I watched the videos and stuff that he produced, I said, hey, man, let's go ahead and talk so that our audience can notice. I said our audience, we are all a family. All of us a family here can listen to what you have to say. So here's Bobby. By the way, Bobby and I go back a long time. Coffee Party USA, Move to Amend US, and all these other organizations. So anyhow, let's go ahead and check this out. Welcome to another segment of Politics Done Right. I'm here once again with Rodrigo. Bobby is now in Portland. Bobby's been doing a whole lot of work with getting the hungry fed out there. We know the pandemic is really raising havoc on a whole lot of people, but he wanted to see for himself as well the protests. Bobby Rodrigo, how are you doing today, my brother?
I'm excellent. How is you? I'm glad to be here, of course, as always. Thank you for having me. Excuse me turning my head a lot. I am driving a large truck full of frozen fish because I'm still doing the food distribution. And I'm going to be heading over to the community hub, the Red, that I spoke about the last time I was on your show. And we're going to be doing some more distributions today.
So you have a lot of fish in your frozen fish in your truck ready to go to the distribution center to feed a whole lot of the hungry.
Yes, indeed. They also have dry goods, and they also have CSA boxes, which are community source agriculture. Essentially, people buy from local farms, and they opt in. They do a subscription service, and we're going to be doing deliveries right to the house of the people who weren't able to show up on Sunday. We did a bunch of distribution on Sunday.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you're going to give them some cooked food already, or just the frozen packages?
No, it's going to be the produce, dairy, grains, as well as frozen proteins. Fish is part of it, chicken and meat. It was actually a marvelous distribution, marvelous products with the people that we worked with, the Equitable Giving Circle, Eco Trust. They were all involved in this on Sunday. It was their event. We were just adding to their event, and they have people who subscribe to to receive these locally sourced products, and they have 400 of them going out. 400 families are fed when they do this. So not everybody was able to show up on Sunday. It was about 100 degrees, and not everybody showed up, but they still get there. So what we'll do now, today and tomorrow, is we'll deliver the ones to the people who were not able to show up. And then there's a lot, mass transportation, the pandemic, a lot of reasons why people can't show up, not just the heat. So then, because they're subscribers, then we'll go and I'm going to help them do the distribution today and tomorrow because I have the frozen fish. So we're going to add it to their boxes and then distribute it throughout the community of Portland.
Excellent. Now, Bobby, a couple of days ago, you did some videos, and I'm gonna kind of incorporate it into our interview here, where you actually got tear gassed in Portland, because you just had to see it for yourself. But before I ask the question, what percentage of the total area of Portland is going through these types of protests right now?
Yeah, so this is important. I've actually been there 5-6 times last week. I've been to the nighttime 2 or 3 times, and then I go in the daytime to show the people the area, because I think that's a very relevant question, and that's why I did it. I was actually watching the press secretary for the White House discussing and then also the community leaders had a press conference that I heard about, and they were complaining about the impact on businesses and residences. And when I went down there the first time I went there was at nighttime protest. And when I went down there, that didn't make sense to me. So I went back in the day to do a recon. And it's 1 square block. Now, I'm from New York City, and a square block in New York City is huge. This is not a New York City square block. I don't even think it's half of a New York City square block. What we have on one side of the park is, 4 sides. So on one side is the federal courthouse building, which sits across the street from there's a park. Everything happens in the park all day, all night. So there's a park that sits there. That's 1 square block. And across the street on one side is the federal courthouse that has been the main focus of the protesting. And then on the opposite side of the park is another state court building. And then to the one side of the park is another park. And they actually were in there when I was there. I was filming it. I didn't know what I was filming, but I filmed it. They were removing the benches in that park. And then on the opposite side is just a corporate office building that isn't open at night, and actually is very rarely open anyway. So there are no residents and there are no businesses that are being impacted directly right inside that 1 square block. So any other comments about that is a complete lie. And when you're at the protest, so the first time I went, I walked to the protest. I parked a few blocks away. I met a friend of mine who lives here, who had been there before. She suggested that we go to this particular spot and park. I get there, no problem, I park. I get out, we walk to the protest. We were about 3.5 blocks away, 4 blocks away, 2 one way, 2 another way. And I didn't even hear the protest until I got right on top of it, because there's nothing but big buildings around there. So all of this, there's no impact on anything in the community other than right there. Now, mind you, yes, people are walking to the park, leaving the park, running from the park when they're gassed. Yes, I understand that. But as far as impacting anything that may be going on, first of all, there's nothing open in Portland after 10 o'clock. When they went to their phased opening, like, for example, the bars and restaurants, they have to all close at 10 o'clock. So there's no, like, bar.
I think you're talking about downtown Portland at the courthouse, 1 square block. So, I mean, if you go 5 square blocks in either direction and there are any businesses there, there's zero impact.
They're closed. They're closed.
But there's also no impact.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's no impact. There's no, a lot of the places have, close by have put up plywood, and some of them have murals, graffiti, whatever. I mean, it just depends on which one it is on them. But the majority of the area isn't even touched at all. When I walked for the first time, I filmed, the streets as I was on my way there, because mind you, I don't have a clue what I'm getting ready to walk into. So I'm filming it because I want to have a clue. And it just, all the rhetoric that they're talking about the impact, which is why I went back in the daytime, has nothing to do with it. And one of the things I discovered in the daytime, and I have advanced my relationship with, is they have these tents there, and the big part of that, I guess we'll call it a mobilization. They've been there since day one that this started, and they have been feeding people for free. Anybody who walks up gets fed for free, and they're not even part of the protest. They're there to support the community, and then another tent is there to have free first aid stuff, and then another tent there, which is more towards the protesting, is like an art tent. You can go there and have somebody draw a picture of you or something like that, almost like a street fair. And they're not even there for the protest. They're there for the community as a whole. So I interviewed one of the leaders of it the other day, and he's kind of annoyed at some of the things that have been happening because he's not, like you said, he's not really part of the protest, and he doesn't like to be involved in it or have any impact like that. Sometimes when they gas, it gets on, the stuff gets on the food or some of the things. So he's got to make sure and pick them up and get them out of there, for example. So, I mean, there's all these dynamics going on, but I did a complete video of the entire area to show everybody this is what it looks like in the daytime. So this is the truth. Whatever you want to make of it, this is the truth.
Now, what's interesting is you got something that kind of irked you the other day is that some guys went on TV who claimed to be civil rights leaders that decided to talk out against the protests. And your question is, why the hell aren't you here if you think there are other people speaking for the protest erroneously? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the whole thing was civil rights leaders say that the Portland protests have lost their message. Now we're at day 61 or something right now. I lost track, but I'm pretty sure it's day 61. And they saying that they lost the message, and just just the headline alone annoyed me, because I'm like, if you're a so-called civil rights leader, why aren't you out here leading and talking to the community and seeing what the messages are that they have? The entire, I've been going to it for a week. So mind you, in that perspective, I've been going here a week. There are no leaders here. Mainstream media is not here, except every now and then they'll have somebody, walking around with a photograph, and then everybody will do an article on the basis of one article, which is what our media does anyway. Like the other day, the New York Times had somebody that had quoted, and I've read the same quote in, 10 other places. The New York Times guy said da-da-da-da-da. Nobody's here. They don't do that anymore. Our media doesn't hit the ground running like they used to. They just show up and do it. They don't do it. So they're not here, and the civil rights leaders are not here. There's nobody out there leading these people or finding out what it is they want or engaging the government, whether it's the federal government or the state government or the city government, on anything that's going on here. The people who are on the ground are just the people who live here who are pissed off. And they're absolutely on point with supporting Black lives. When I say Black Lives Matter, I'm talking about the Black people of the world. I'm not talking about any organization. I can care less about organizations unless I work directly with them or I vetted them. When you're talking about, they're pissed off that the federal government is here behaving the way they have been, dealing with people in the streets, beating people, snatching people, not identifying themselves initially. And again, that's not what's happening today that I've seen. This is what I'm hearing. So I want to qualify, because I always qualify with what I know.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for you, because there's one thing that you pointed out. Most people that are going out there to see these things, they would see, let's say some folks behave in the wrong way. They will simply ignore it. I think you actually said that the government behaved justifiably at a point when you were there, because, explain.
Yeah, so one of the things that was happening, so the night I got gassed, I was in my car and in my SUV, and I drove up right literally to the front line. It was right in front of me. There was nothing in between where I was. It was at an angle, so I could look down the front line. But they put up a new barrier fence, so I'm looking from the side right down the front of it. Now, mind you, they have a barrier down the sides of the building, but not even all the way around. Nobody even goes to the back of the building to do anything. I mean, this is how small in impact of the.
Not only that nobody goes behind the building shows that there are not a whole lot of people of ill repute out there.
Well, there is, but they're all focused to the front door. Nobody's
Right.
going down the sides of the building. Nobody's going around the back. When you talk about destruction and stuff like that. But
no, what I mean is, they said that they, according to Barr, if they weren't there, they wanted to bring down the building.
Oh, that's ridiculous, and they can never do it anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, we're talking about concrete and steel. This
Right.
is not. we're not talking about a house. So that's absurd. So I'm watching this. I'm watching it, and it is midnight when I'm there. So the story, when I first got there, the story was that everything happens from 11 o'clock on. That's when the gas comes. It's like clockwork. So I thought that was interesting. So I get down there and I'm sitting there and it's midnight, and then people start shooting fireworks at the building over the barrier. Now, I understand for those people that say the responses are not proper, that, oh, well, it's just fireworks, nobody's hurting anything. Let me tell you something. In police policy, you do not let that escalate, because that can go anywhere. It is proper within a policy structure of the police. Any police department in the country will tell you that we have to respond to somebody shooting fire at a building, regardless. So that's when the gas started. So in my opinion, from the standpoint of a policy standpoint, it is a proper response for them to break up the crowd in the front that is shooting fire at the damn building. So then when the gas came out, and I got gassed, it was like I had my mask, but I didn't have my eye protection. It was hilarious. I'm an idiot. So anyway, so it all comes in the car, and then there's people in front with the leaf blowers, you know, and blocking it, which helped me a little bit. But at the same time, when they came out and gassed, then somebody threw a big whatever it was. I have no idea. It could have been a box.
Molotov cocktail.
No, it wasn't that bad. No, hell no. That because a Molotov cocktail has gasoline in it,
right? And
that creates a fire that is big. That's not a small thing.
So it wasn't one of those.
No, hell no. Thank God. No, because then they're in the street whipping some ass. To be honest with you, if that happens, they're in there. This was more like somebody threw a box or something that was on fire. It was a big thing, but it went out right away. So it wasn't something like that. Because when you throw a Molotov with the gas, when the bottle breaks, it spreads. Because
yeah.
No, that's not. No, hell no. So anyway, so then they gasped. They didn't come out. So I had to go clear my eyes. It took a minute. So I drove around the other side of the park and I sat there to recover. And then I did a report from there. And then I got out and went down to the tent. And then I walked back to the front line. It wasn't driving. I was standing there. And again, they wound up, while I was in the car on the other side of the gas, they wound up gassing again. And then they didn't come out. Then I walked to the front line and nothing was happening. And then I waited again. And then they came out and did it 2 more times. But I have to tell you, and it's interesting. And first of all, I sat at the corner. I got back in my car and drove back close to it. And I was just looking at the crowd. I wanted to get to know the people that were there just by look. And without question, at least 75% of the people that I saw walking by me physically from the event was white. Bottom line. And Portland is 90% white. So why is that a surprise? It's not a surprise. So then the next day, when I was not there, but I got film from it, they did a very, very coordinated Black Lives Matter thing that's also on my wall, with lights on and stuff like that. And my comment to the civil rights leader goes, well, I guess they at least have remembered that message. Because unless you're in there talking to, it's like, I guess they're still on point here, at least on one issue. So it's just, to me, it's so irresponsible for people to see news. Like, they know what the hell's going growing up. Civil rights leaders were on the ground. Some people have pushed back with saying, oh, they got killed and this, that, like, well, you know what? So if you die, you die. But if you need to stand up to something, get out there and stand up. That's what these people are doing. So if you want to know what's going on, go out and talk to them and then be a leader and then go to the government and say, this is what we want. That's not what's going on here. It's ridiculous.
What has happened, Bobby, is a lot of times what we have with these civil rights leaders and other leaders is they've become complacent. They are part of the system now. It's all a.
I would even take it another level. I would argue that we haven't had a civil rights leader since the late 60s, early 70s. Mandela and Walesa from Poland were probably the last 2 civil rights leaders that we've ever had in this world, if you think about it. In our country. Who have you seen out there every single march, an important march that you see in this country, let's say? We could go to LA, we could talk about the different major protests, Charlotte, all these things. When have you seen one or more of the same, of a civil rights leader in this country out there every single time? It doesn't exist, whether it's a politician or anybody. I can't think of anybody. And I go to these damn things.
I hear you, Bobby. Hey, Bobby, give me a closer here. Let's have a closer here as far as what you think is gonna be the outcome of the government negotiation with the folks in Portland now that it seems like the government may want to have an exit out of Portland now that they've been exposed?
Well, to everybody nationally, you got to support your communities. There's got to be no violence, no destruction. You have to identify people who are doing it, and don't go into the conspiracy end of it. Just be honest. What you see is what's happening. If you see somebody doing bad, the key is to be peaceful. Do not instigate. And this is the same thing for the police. The police need to behave properly and not go overboard. And as far as people talking to the government and exit strategies, I'm not aware of anybody who's talking to them, but we do need somebody or more people. I talked to some community leaders yesterday. I was really, really impressed with who it was. I'm going to be interviewing them anyway because they're here. And I'm working with people who lived there their whole lives. Portland's not going anywhere. I'll tell you that. They don't play when it comes to things like this. They're not going anywhere. This is going to go on for a while. Where it goes, I don't know. But it would be nice to have some structure and have some conversations that are productive. And that's
now, Bobby, as far as calling out the truth, I just want to let you know, as far as a lot of the destruction that occurred in Minneapolis, we know now for sure that a lot of that was instigated by a few white supremacists wanting to create an issue. And in fact, there's going to be an arrest warrant, or likely an arrest warrant, for allegedly a person named Mitchell Carson, who they had called the Umbrella Man, which they found breaking stuff up and writing "We want free stuff," all that kind of stuff on windows. Just a matter of information, I think, necessary.
Yeah, look, hey, it happens. Without question, it happens. It is a thing for real. The one thing I will tell you, which is not exactly a popular decision, but I'm a self-defense guy, as you know, and I don't believe in offensive anything, but I'm a defensive guy with all the force that is coming at me, and if the state is attacking me and being violent to me, I have no problem being violent back to the state, and it's a complicated thing to say, but it's what I believe in. When I think of George Floyd, I think about, okay, yeah, it was 9 seconds, but I think about what my reaction would be if that was my son. Well, I know exactly what it would be, and
I know what it would be too.
Yeah, so it's a complicated thing, but it's not. So some of the things that are happening, I'm like, oh yeah, that's okay, because it's the state doing it. When I see, and it's not a popular position. And I'll mention one more thing from the standpoint of politics. When Obama was president, one of the big conspiracies that was running around the world was him federalizing the police, and sending them in everywhere. And there were troops running around. I heard a week and a half ago that there's some right-wing political people that believe that there were troops crossing our border. And I'm like, seriously, you really want me to jump into this? And these are some of my brothers who are in the military, and it just cracks me up how that happens. So now the narrative is the other way. Well, we think it should be federalized because it's the left doing this. And to me, it's not about the right and the left. It's about the community who's fighting. What the hell difference does it make what their political description? Whenever we do the labels, we create the division.
Power, brother, power.
Yeah, man.
But look,
you got to
anyhow,
support your community.
Bobby, look, it's a pleasure again. Keep up the good work out there in Portland. I'll be back. We'll have a little talk again on next week. All right?
Yeah, and Feed the Mass is going to be feeding people today, also with the fish, right at the Red in Portland, the community hub on Salmon Street. If anybody's around, come get yourself a marvelous meal with fish or with a vegan, created by the chefs that are in here. They'll be doing it I believe they start feeding at 11 a.m. Come check it out.
Bobby Rodrigo from New York to Portland, Oregon. Have a good one, brother.
Stay cool.
All right, folks, that was Bobby in his colorful way telling us what's going on out there in Portland. I really appreciate what he's doing out there. Like I said, he went to that stuff several times. And last night we were on the phone, and a couple of nights ago, I think it was, on the phone. I'm like, hey, man, you got to get me some video out of that thing, because we got to be out here telling the truth, folks. We got to be out here telling the truth. Don't pay Bobby no mind, though. He enjoyed getting gassed. You can go ahead and tell somebody, hey, they got me tear gassed. Anyhow, that's my buddy. Anyhow, folks, listen. I think it is important for us. Those of you that are listening to this, remember to share this. And I'm going to have a lot of different parts extracted to make sure and easier. So always go to politicsandright.com or egbertowillies.com. I think most of these are going to be on politicsandright.com, and I'll have a few on egbertowillies.com as well. Anyhow, let me go ahead and see if there's anybody else I need to salute. I know I saw a couple more. Para ver. Get the Pitchforks. I love that name. Get the Pitchforks. Remember, and Hanor is the one who gave the TED Talk about pitchforks, and it's something that I picked up on. I blogged it several times. Nick Hanor is the guy who spoke about the pitchforks. Anybody who wants a you want to hear a billionaire talk about the reality about who makes the money or who makes it here in this country, check out Nick Hanor TED Talk. Just do that search. Nick Hanor TED Talk. That's a TED Talk everybody needs to see. It was excellent TED Talk. Anyhow, let's see. Let's go ahead and go to the folks on the page now. But if you want to call in, you can always call 346-248-7799. The code is 254-600-9091. Again, that is 346-248-7799. The ID is 254-600-9091. Before I go to the top, I saw messages coming in. Michael Rodnin, you are so darn quick. Thank you for finding that link for folks to see that Ted Hanor talk. He did two of them. I hope that is the one about the pitchforks. He did one on pitchforks, and then he did one on who actually makes the economy. So it's two of them that he did. And I'm pretty sure Rodnin is going to find the other one in no time. Okay, let's get busy here with the notes. Para ver. Hydroxycut works against COVID, and it's only $39.99 a bottle from Dimitri, I know you're messing around, dude. I know you're messing around. Norman Reynolds says, survivors. Yes, it is. Michael said, Egberto, I'm looking for the link. I spoke to you about that one before. And we have a new word, folks, and it's courtesy of Dimitri OG. Gohmert is a mask hole. Gohmert is a mask hole. I think you guys know where that's coming from. And Bruce says, the question is, will he wear a mask now? Bruce, I doubt it. These are the kind of guys who get infected and they're pissed off. So what they say is, well, I'm going to go infect everybody else now. I don't care. To hell with it. I got infected. Now you are too. These people don't care about anybody else. Lee Grant said, no. First, it's Michael Redden says, conservative thought process shows they are selfish pricks. The mask doesn't protect you. It protects everyone else, so they chose not to wear it. If everyone wears masks, the transmission rates drop. The pandemic ends in a month. And that's a fact. If you reduce the transmission rate to an R of under 1, that means that it's dying, meaning there's... Every infection occurs less than one time. That means eventually it dies out. Well, I mean, if you take a look at the way math works, it approaches zero. It never hits zero, but it approaches zero. Lee Grant, I'm amazed, Egberto. Lefties and progressives have always depicted any particular time period as dystopian hellscape of oppression, pain, and civil breakdown. No, sir. No, sir. I know what we need right now, and brother, I know you do too. Hey, Lee, I'm halfway done proofreading my book talking about the right brain and what you guys, a lot of you think. I hope you're going to get that book and tell me if you think I'm wrong somehow. I have a feeling you're going to say, damn it, how the hell did this guy figure out this is how we think, man? Anyhow, Lee Grant also says, it serves their agenda as they laughingly suggest that things are so bad, but if we give them power, everything will be hunky-dory. But now, when we do have a dystopian, you know what show. No. Let me tell you, Lee Grant. Things are bad, Lee Grant. 70% of Americans right now are probably, actually it's going to be something like 60% of Americans are probably going to live a pretty smooth life going forward. 60%. Things are going to be okay. You're not going to be getting rich. You're not going to be it's not going to be a complete decompression of the system. But Here's what's important, and I want everybody to hear this. That 30 to 40% of Americans that are going to be living a holy hell, that's a lot of people. And it's some of your relatives, your families, and your friends. You know, that reminds me of places in Panama, where I'm from, right? You have a lot of people, those of us who worked for the United States government. The pay was great. We lived a much easier life than those people who didn't have jobs with the American government. So that was a cherished thing, right? Get a job with the Canal Zone, and you are fine, because compared to what they pay on the other side of that fence, you know, you were a Panamanian doing great if you could get an American salary. But how do you really feel watching all the other folk like you, your brothers and your sisters, not doing well? Well, if you're a good person, you assist, you help, right? Which means you split some of what you have with others. But there should be no reason for that. We should have a government that cares enough that those things shouldn't have to happen as they are right now. Deidre, no, that's not from, Deidre was replying to Rudnan, so I guess that's between the two of you. Lee Grant says, but when they do a dystopian, those same lefties are blind to it. Nothing to see here among along. It's a myth, says Nadler. So go figure. I think you misunderstand that, Lee. I think you misunderstand it. But the good thing about it is that you're talking, and because you're talking, it means that you can also absorb as well. Meaning we're having that conversation that we need to have. Yeah, Norman, I know our girls in Portland, and I know she loves it out there in Portland too. It's a beautiful city. I've been there a couple of times as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. And then you get the Columbia River and that bridge over the Columbia. You know, I'm a fanatic of bridges, you know. That bridge over the Columbia, the big bridge over the Columbia River. I don't remember the interstate that crosses. I think it's 5. Is it 5? I don't remember. The interstate that crosses the Columbia, all that good stuff. Okay, Kathy, I'm not going to bastardize your name again. Looking forward to seeing what's going on in Portland, and I think you saw that from Bobby Rodrigo. And thank you so kindly for watching that. And you forgave me for mispronouncing your name. Thank you. All right, let me go down a little bit further, because I next have to go ahead and do my little pitch here, folks. Then the government just say they were pulling out. Yes, they did say they're pulling out. No. Donald Trump says he's not pulling out of Portland. But the DHS says they're pulling out of Portland. We'll see what really happens. Para ver qué más. Bridge just says, at what, let's see. First of all, let's see. Bridge is asking, at what cost, Egberto? Let's see what exactly she's asking for. There's another one, reforming capitalism. Replying, Michael says, ha ha ha, Rudnan, it's not a crime like giving AIDS was. It should be. Breach, pardon, giving AIDS, at what cost? Anyhow, I'm not sure. Breach, kind of explain to me what you want to, when you say at what cost, Egberto, exactly what you mean there. I'm not sure I understand what that is. Anyhow, while you come back and tell me what you meant by that, Breach, Panama, you spelled it wrong. You said Panama. it's Panama. Anyhow, folks, please note that Politics Done Right is a show, a program that needs your support. That is how this program is yours. If you notice, anybody can call in, anybody can tell us, anybody can change the subject. If you doubt that, ask Michael Rudnan. If you doubt that, ask Norman. If you doubt that, ask Bruce. Anybody can call in and say, Egberto, we need to be talking about X, Y, and Z. This is your program. That is the difference between mainstream media and independent media. You can also say, Egberto, can you do a little research on this stuff here, because we would like to find out about that. That is what we do here. This is your program. And what we ask you to do as well, for bringing you honest, unadulterated truth, for bringing you all the news that you're not going to necessarily get covered, we ask you to support us. And how can you do that? You can support us by becoming a subscriber on Patreon. And to get there, you go to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon. 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 Politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Facebook, like I mentioned to several, has allowed us now to take subscriptions on Facebook. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/Facebook. Politicsdoneright.com/Facebook. You can also do by PayPal, and that is politicsdoneright.com/PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. If you want to support our fund for our equipment fund, which when this pandemic is completely over, we'll be back on the road quite a bit and often. That will be politicsdoneright.com/GoFundMe, politicsdoneright.com/GoFundMe. And of course, we want you to go to our store. That is politicsdoneright.com/store, politicsdoneright.com/store. And what can you get at our store? You're going to get our cups. And this is just our politicsdoneright.com's cup, but we also are we also have the cups with the squad. We have the cup that says I support independent media. We have different versions of the cup. Some are better, look kind of more. I mean, these are nice cups. And we have T-shirts, all of that. In a little bit, I'm going to put that on display, all the different things that we have on the store at display as well. Let's see. Michael just said, I'd rather text my thoughts here than call in. But if you ever get a caller, please take theirs ahead of anything here. Yeah, we got callers every so often. Yesterday, we had Dimitri calling in. And, some other times we get callers. But it seems like there are a lot of people that think like you. We get all these messages. Yesterday, we get over 100 of them in the feed. And so it seems like people do prefer doing the text kind of a thing as well. But, we give you all avenues. We pay for the Zoom so that we can take those calls because you matter. So anyhow, folks, please go ahead and go to our store. Go ahead and become subscribers. That's all we want to talk about now. Anyhow, to close out. Let me see. Breach says, Egberto addressed the kidnapping of New York City woman last night in New York City during protest. I don't have enough information on that. I heard about it, but I don't want to just repeat and regurgitate what I heard. I'll go ahead and get the info for you tomorrow. And then so we'll talk about that tomorrow. The only thing that we're going to get on Politics Done Right are facts. I'm not going to create stuff or try to make believe I know something that I don't. I have no problem saying, yo no sé, yo no sé, no sé, I don't know. But anyhow, so you'll always get what I know. You'll always get the truth out of me. Folks, look, I thank you so kindly for being here. I thank you so kindly for supporting us. I thank you so kindly for sharing our programs. I thank you so kindly for subscribing in however form you can. So please, 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 remember to tell people about the show. Remember to tell people we are going to win this thing. And when I say we are going to win this thing, I don't necessarily mean, Biden's going to win. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't care about Biden. I don't care about Trump. I don't care about these people on an individual, personal basis. I care about us, right? If us is taken care of, meaning if policies are taken care of for us, then all will work out correctly. All will work out well. Because, Biden and Trump and Clinton and all those guys, they live in a different world. They're always okay. When they lose an election, it's a hurt to their heart. When we lose policy, it can be between health, bankruptcy, and many other things, for which they are not there for us, win or lose. So what I care about is us. What we report about is how to make things better for us all. Look, folks, I want to thank you guys for sticking with me. I thank you so kindly for coming to the show. Society, exactly. A society is best when the needs of the people are taken care of as a priority, says Michael Rodnan, and that is the message of the day. That is the message of the day. And Bridge, you're correct. They are still politicians. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel and please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.